everything's out of whack. Men and women in this country, our food supply is absolutely poisoned, and there are franchise concepts that are now helping people get centered, get balanced, and regulate their hormones.
Welcome to the Next Level Income Show, where it's our goal to take your income, your investments, and your life to the next level. I'm your host, Chris Larson. If you haven't yet, get a copy of our book for free at our website, nextlevelincome.com. That's www.nextlevelincome.com. Just click on the book link, and I'll even send you a copy if you put your address in. On today's show, we have Cliff Nonnenmacher. He began his career as an investment banker at Morgan Stanley. And even before that, he was doing odd jobs as a true entrepreneur at a very young age. He ended up leaving Wall Street in 2003, acquired a master franchise for New York and Connecticut, and dove headfirst in the franchising industry. Since then, Cliff has owned and operated various franchise businesses, including Cartridge World, Personal Training Institute, Puro Clean, and Made Right, as well as non-franchise company. With over 25 years of experience in franchising, finance, and business, Cliff has been involved in every aspect of the franchisor-franchisee relationship. His passion lies in mentoring franchise owners and helping individuals explore whether franchising is the right path for them. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the studio. I love the kind of the subtle green of money that's flowing there around you. And Cliff, you speaking of money, you're well associated with it. You know, your background on Wall Street. We're going to dive in and talk about franchises and how, you know, our listeners today can learn more about the franchise business, and if it's something that makes sense going forward with everything that we have in the economy. But Cliff, I'm going to let you share more about your background. You know, we're talking about your really cool story, how you got onto Wall Street, but I'll let you take it from here for a few minutes.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I've always known I wanted to be self-employed, like literally as a kid, a young child, call it 6 and 8. I knew that I wanted to be a business owner. It just was blindingly clear to me. Did all various things that you would do as a kid, raking golf balls, you know, raking leaves, shoveling snow, watching dogs, you name it. And then ultimately I started doing some things on my own. I actually lived on an island. Grew up in New York is where my journey began. Yeah. But I moved to Marco Island, an island that is 3 miles by 6 miles. You being a real estate guy are probably familiar with Marco Island, Naples, Fort Myers.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful area. One of my favorite areas of Florida.
It is a beautiful. I moved there when the roads were dirt, so I moved there in 1988. Wow. I literally lived on a dirt road. It was waterfront dirt road. My parents relocated me down there, and I started a food delivery concept that ultimately had multiple vehicles, 16 restaurants. We delivered for the pharmacy. We delivered auto parts. Wow. I did that for years. Yeah, we delivered around the clock.
How old were you?
I was 20, 19, 20. Yeah, actually, it was 19 because I graduated high school, so I was 19. And I did that into my 20s, and then got involved in water sports, where I owned the boats, jet ski rentals. I had Jersey Shore, I had Marco Island, Florida. Expanded that for years, and then as I was mentioning, right, making money. What do you do with the money? I just loved finance. I do love money. I love the concept of it. I love the freedom of it, not necessarily the greed of it, but I love what it allows you to do, which is to live your life the way you want to live it. So got a satellite system. I mean, I'm dating myself. I got a satellite system that was bragging about level 1, level 2 trading, where you could see buy side, sell side activity, right? Volume. So I started trading and took my portfolio to Wall Street, got a job. I was offered by every member firm. I took a job because my next door neighbor, who I admired, was with Smith Barney. I took a job with Solomon Smith Barney. I was with a group. We managed around 250 million. And I got that. Yes, that's self-employment, but not to the degree. I mean, we're managed by lawyers. We would do seminars at yacht clubs and country clubs. And you know what dollar bill ad? I'm dating myself, right? You know the dollar bill ads used to run in the paper? That 70% of the size of that ad was disclaimer. 75%. So 25% of that ad was where you get when, where, and time and place, right? So it was like it was ridiculous. So I said I got to go back out on my own. I was young. I was in my 20s. And I ended up finding a company in Australia that reverse engineered printer consumables. And that was my introduction to franchising. I bought the rights to the entire state of New York and Connecticut and started scaling brick and mortar printer cartridge refilling and remanufacturing
Yeah.
locations. And then from there, I never left franchising. That's
Oh,
2003. Never left.
yeah.
I fell absolutely in love with this world that
Yeah.
I can literally reinvent myself like that.
Yeah.
Just boom, I'm in a different business. Today it's cartridges. Tomorrow I
Yeah.
own a water, fire, mold, and biohazard business doing 3 million a year. That's
Yeah.
real. Like just like that.
Yeah.
That's franchising, right? Here's the blueprint, the
Yeah.
model, execute and grow it and scale it.
Yeah.
That's
No,
kind
I
of the
love
background.
that. Yeah, Cliff, I love that. And for our younger listeners out there, I want to highlight a couple things. So one, share a little bit about your, growing up, because I grew up blue collar, same thing, like going door to door saying, "Hey, can I rake your leaves? Can I shovel your snow?" Delivering newspapers, selling wrapping paper door to door. My mom was an assistant teacher. My stepdad, my father passed away when I was 5. She remarried. My stepdad was a contractor, and they they were savers, and I say they supported me in the fact that they really didn't inhibit what I was doing. So I had to go learn on my own. We didn't have a lot of money. My grandmother made my clothes. I was like, well, how can I go make some money and really kind of increase my little personal quality of life when I was younger there. I tell everybody
Right.
they should do what I did, which was we had a local beach. I grew up near the Chesapeake Bay, and
Mm.
I'll tell you what, if you haven't emptied trash in the middle of July after people have thrown out meat and diapers and let it sit for a couple days and have all the maggots in there, then you don't really fully appreciate what it is to get your hands
Wow.
dirty and work. What was it like growing up in your house, Cliff? Like how did you learn kind of the mechanics of money, and
Yeah.
where'd you get the desire to go out there and really make a living for yourself at such a young age?
So I'm adopted. So
Oh wow.
when you
Yeah.
talk about, you talked about a stepdad. So I'm
Yeah.
actually adopted. I
Yeah.
was adopted as a baby. So my father
Yeah.
was a police officer and my mom was an interior decorator. They
Yeah.
were play it safe. They
Yep.
were smart. They were very good
Yeah.
with their money. They were able to live in beautiful neighborhoods. They were able to
Yeah.
live a nice life. Middle class to upper middle class upbringing.
Yeah.
I would say risk averse, even though my father
Yep.
always wanted more and wanted
Hmm.
to do something bigger and better and dabbled in many businesses, some hits, some misses, some good swings,
Yeah.
right? All of it, like every
Yeah.
entrepreneur experiences. You got to get out there and play in traffic in order to get hit. So, he did
Right.
what he needed to
Right.
do. I think that the cornerstone of everything would be I was taught from a young age, you hustle.
Yes.
And if you want
Yes.
something, you go buy it. It's like,
Yes.
what do you want? I wanted a
Yeah.
scooter as an example. I wanted this new Mongoose scooter, and my parents were like, go buy it.
Mongoose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
remember
yeah.
that thing?
They were
It
hot.
was
Oh yeah,
great.
dude.
Oh, it was, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
today they're a razor. You and I,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were the
Yeah.
Mongoose. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
started this whole scooter craze.
Yep. I got
So
mine when I was for my 11th birthday. I got a scooter. Yep. Oh yeah.
absolutely. I
It
mean,
was teal green. It was hot back then. Teal green, just like my rollerblades were too.
that's right.
And my
Those
Columbia ski jacket, all teal. That was the early
That's right.
'90s
Oh,
colors. Yeah.
Columbia, yeah,
Yeah.
Lands End, Columbia. That
Man's
was
End,
with the Timberland boots. Yeah, those were good
members
times.
only.
That's right. That's right.
all
They were
these
good
all these
times.
millennials and Gen Z are like, what are they talking about?
Completely did. Yeah, right. Remember when you had to peel back the lid on the can? Now we really lost them. Right.
Yeah.
So that's funny that someone I
Yeah.
remember when my son's 16 now, and it's like I had to
Yeah.
explain to him that Michael Jackson was a black man. And he looked at me like I was crazy. Like
Okay,
this
that's
is
funny.
nuts. Right?
That's funny. Yeah. 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 That's
No, I've
I
gone.
like I
No, no,
like
no. I'm
that. Yeah.
serious. I'm
Yeah.
serious.
That's funny.
He
Yeah.
was a black man. My son still does it. I don't know if he still is, man. I don't know. But he was. There was a time. So a lot has changed to your point. But yeah,
Yeah.
hustling and fighting like hell to win
Yeah.
and not taking no and giving
Yeah.
up. Like that was everything
Yeah.
in my household. My father worked like a mule. He had
Yeah.
multiple jobs, multiple businesses. He's constantly working. I think I have the same exact work ethic. And as a
Yes.
kid, I just started hustling.
Yeah, I love that, and that's one of the things. As you've probably experienced as well with your son. How do you translate those skills and those lessons? When our children have more than we did, and I love sports for that. teaching them how to do that, how to make their own money. I'm curious because my boys, I pay them $1 a day as a salary to do the jobs around the house. But if they really want to make money, they got to go, they got to work around the yard. They've got to wash our cars. They've got to clean our Airbnbs and do those things. What are some things that you've helped teach your son, and some ways that you've helped teach your son some of those same lessons that you and I learned at that age?
Wow. This will probably not go over well with the audience, but my attitude is
Yeah.
deprive them. The problem with kids today is they
Yeah.
have abundance. They have abundance and they work out of
Yes.
it. So you're
Yes.
surrounded by all of the
Hmm.
riches and you're
Yep.
doing backstrokes and gold bullion and you have accomplished nothing.
Yes.
Think about it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
so you've experienced, there's an old saying, like, it's like success only comes before work in the dictionary. But
Yeah.
these kids are successful teenagers because we've
Yes.
indulged them with all this stuff. So
Mhm.
here was my attitude.
Yeah.
You want an iPhone? What are you contributing to the iPhone? It's
Yes.
$1,000 phone and you're like 14.
Yep.
It's $1,000. So he contributed half of it. How did he get half of it? I taught
Excellent.
him how to go get half of it. You could go
Excellent.
knock on the neighbor's door and you can tell her that the garbage goes to the curb 2 times a week. And for $5, you'll bring the garbage can to the curb and back to the house and back and forth 2 days a week. Also walk her dog, watch her dog. You can pull weeds. You could do all sorts. Well, I live in South Florida, so we're limited on
Yeah.
certain things. And we're in an HOA, so
No,
there's
no
no
shoveling
lawns.
snow. Yeah.
The dogs clicked with him. The dogs became the thing. My wife was very involved in encouraging him as well and getting clients to dog sit, made
Yeah.
a great. This kid actually contributed at probably 13 a full IRA Roth contribution in a calendar year. Maxed it.
I love that. Yep. I
Yes.
love that. I
So
love that.
I've
Yep.
always made sure that he had skin in the game. Do you
Yes.
want to know something funny, Chris? My
Well,
son has
by the
never
way,
been broken.
I don't care if I think this is going to go over well with the audience. This is gold right here.
He has never lost an iPhone. He has never broken an iPhone. He has never scratched an iPhone. Why is that? Oh, because you have $500 in it. I
Skin in the
see.
game, baby.
And
Yep.
you
Yeah.
knew how many dogs it took to
Mhm.
watch. And of course, now the
Yeah.
legal age to work in the state of Florida, and there are not every business does this.
Yeah.
14. When you turn 14, you can have a job here. You're only
Yeah.
allowed to work 11 hours a week. Well, guess what? On his birthday, my wife included online applying to Chick-fil-A, which allows 14-year-olds to work. Again,
Yeah.
11 hours a week max. And Publix, which is our grocery store that you probably have.
Publix.
Don't
Oh,
you
yeah,
have Publix up?
we just got
Because
them
you're
here in
North
the
Carolina.
last several years. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
they've expanded into North Carolina.
Yeah.
He has been now working for Publix since he was 14, and today he's 16. He's going to be 17.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah.
working, making money, hustling, never cold and sick. Just we're building, as you right. We're building a productive
Yes.
male human being to
Yes.
the workforce, to society.
Absolutely.
Respect,
Yeah.
provide, hustle, work, make money, and take care of your things.
Cliff, I love that. And yeah, one of the proudest things this past weekend, my son, he actually boards at a local school. He plays for their lacrosse team. And he's, again, trying to instill that work ethic. He comes home, he's got these like winter slippers. I said, "Where'd you get those?" And my wife's like, where did he get money for this? Because he's had some hiccups along the way where he shows up and like, "Where'd you get $20? Did you make that?" Or, "Oh, I found it." It's like, "Did you find it? Did it?" So we've had some bumps along the way. So we're like, "Well, like, how did he get this money?" And I'm taking him home this weekend. I said, he's got the slippers on. I said, because they're like indoor outdoor. I said, "Oh, you got new slippers?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Where'd you get them?" He said, "Oh, I got them from Target." I said, "How did you buy them?" He goes, "I bought them with my own money." And he had $20 in his pocket from the night before when he went out. He bought his own dinner when he went to the ski slope with his buddy. I said, "Where'd you get the money?" He goes, "Oh, I fold clothes for my dorm mates." So he's gone around and he's told the kids, he goes, "Hey, I'll fold your clothes for you for $5.
Love
And
it.
he's always got 20, 40, $80 in his pocket. And he buys his own stuff. He doesn't ask us for any money. And it made me so proud because I'm like, hey,
I agree.
there's dignity in work. And, I want to make sure that they earn those things and they're not given. And it's tough because we want them to have the opportunities. We want them to have the educational opportunities and these developmental opportunities. But I'm always curious how people like yourself that are successful, that that have learned these lessons, teach them to their kids. So
you can't.
thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick thing, and hopefully the audience will appreciate this.
Yeah.
This is going back to the very beginning of a phone. No social media accounts. I tell every parent,
No.
don't do it.
Nope.
The
Absolutely.
phone itself is
Yep.
digital heroin, so that's the first problem. The
It's
fact that we actually handed them a
yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
But what I did is I was the only keeper of the password. My wife didn't
Yeah.
even have it. 45-minute max on any app that's not education related. 45 max. So like a to go by, and he would constantly come to me for the code. 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, and then you could set how much
I
longer when
just
you enter the
I
code,
just got that
right?
same message from my son. Yeah.
So I asked him, I go, be honest with me. You don't ask anymore about the code. Did you figure out how to like unlock it? He goes, Dad, honestly, you have limited and restricted my ability to use these apps that I don't even care anymore. And that's it, man. That was
Yes.
one of the proudest.
Yeah.
Like there's so much you could do with your kids,
Yeah.
changing tires on the car, making them contribute. Listen, this isn't rocket science. This is basic
Yeah.
stuff. Just go back to baby boomers,
Yeah.
go back to a couple of generations where we raised some of the best human beings on the planet, which would be our
British generation. Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, come on, we ruined it. Gen X will go down. Gen X will go down as the worst parents in history. We ruined these kids. We're the ones with the furries and the nonsense and the I don't know what I am. And we're the ones who ruin these kids.
Yeah.
And they're lazy and they don't want to work. And we got 1.8 million females on OnlyFans. That's our generation that did
Is that
that.
true? Wow. Yeah.
1.8
I
million
will say I've
girls.
never been on OnlyFans for the record, but yeah, it is. And again, it's a fine line between introducing
Yes.
our children in this generation to the digital age, to these tools, but also teaching them responsibility, much like, it's like, hey, is it okay to have a drink but not get hammered? And
That's right.
you see that with this generation. So we could spend the whole time on these
I know.
lessons, I think, Cliff. But you transitioned into franchising. You mentioned that. And before we dive into what you do, how you build franchises, some of the lessons you've learned, I know you got a framework that you've put around that. For the audience, share for those that aren't familiar with franchising, what's the difference between like going out and starting your own business versus buying the rights or actually buying an existing franchise that's out there?
Sure. Yeah. One, they both work,
Yeah.
right? So to start, I would never discourage anyone from just putting themselves out there, taking a chance to create wealth and to be financially independent. So if you want to hang your own shingle, which is option number one, just go out and do your own thing. Great. I think those folks tend to be a little more entrepreneurial and they're definitely taking on way more risk than someone that joined a franchise system where the concept was already created. Now, granted, someone can say, well, I'm going to do home care. I didn't create it, but I'm going to create my own home care agency and I'm going to scale it. Great. Some folks say, I'm going to hang my own shingle and I'm going to go create something, like Elon. He's just creating things and PayPal and, electrifying the phone book and all the things that this guy did. That to me is visionary entrepreneur. I don't know that
Most
that's
people
your
don't know
average
that
person.
about Elon, that was his first business, was they went
That's right.
out and they basically, like you said, digitized the phone book.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which led to PayPal. Yeah.
Which led to PayPal and
Yeah.
then led to the richest man in the world who
Incredible.
is incredibly humble, has a lot of kids, and talks about what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
So, yes, you could go hang your own shingle, do your own thing. Not everyone can do that. So, for someone that says, look, maybe I'm 40s, maybe I'm in my 50s, maybe my runway is 10, 20 years where I really want to hustle and I have that fire in my belly and I want to create additional wealth to retire uncompromised. Great. Buy a franchise, scale it, follow the model, collapse time, which I think is critical. If you're 50, you have to collapse time. If you're 50, you don't have 50 years to build something. Like you need, right? If you're 50 years old and you're like, I finally have enough money, as they call it, that FU money to get out of corporate America and go out on their own. If you have it, great. I think you need to do something that is proven. You have proof of concept. It's highly scalable. You have
Yeah.
liquidity. You have an exit strategy. It's something that you can get behind and believe in and introduce to your community and against. So I think the differences are people go out on their own are definitely have a higher risk proclivity. There's no doubt about it because you have way more risk. There is way more failure in the
Absolutely.
independent
Yeah.
than there is in franchising. I
Yeah.
mean that's a statistical fact that the average independent business owner will fail within X number of years. Call it under five. Where in franchising in the fifth year, more of those people are still in business and importantly have liquidity so they
And
can
that's
exit.
because, and I want you to go through some of the reasons because of that. But, I think one of the things I think this is very important because a lot of our listeners are investors. They look at alternative assets that are out there. The first time, I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, and I'm sure a lot of other people are listening saying, well, yeah, that's cool, Cliff. I don't want to go buy a job for myself because you
Mhm.
see a lot of these franchise owners where the franchisee is sitting there and they're the face of the business. They're in the business operating. What is there a
That's right.
mindset? How do you work with people that come at you and say, "Hey, listen, Cliff, that's great. I want to own the business. I want to work on the business, not in the business."
That's right.
How do you differentiate that, and what are the lessons to not get stuck just transitioning out of corporate America back into another job for yourself where you're getting paid even less than you were in corporate America, for instance?
That's great. Excellent. So, first of all, there's nothing wrong with someone who says, I've been making 75, 80 grand a year
Right.
and I don't want to work for anyone anymore.
Yeah.
I'm okay. We call them Chuck in a truck, right? It's just a guy that wants to buy his own business and he's
Yeah.
okay driving his own van and doing some random home services jobs around town or whatever business. It could
Yeah.
be, dog grooming, it could be dog training, it could be something he's passionate about.
Yeah.
But they do. There are people who are like, no, I want to buy myself a job. For your
Yeah.
listeners that are like, absolutely not, right? I
Yeah.
want a highly scalable business that is profitable, that does not rely on my day to day involvement. Okay, now we're talking executive model, semi absentee ownership, where we call it you're managing the manager.
Yeah.
There are plenty of businesses like that. We tend, as a consulting firm, Phrenosity is the name of our company, we tend to focus on businesses that are what I refer to as asymmetrical, very low bottom, high margin, highly scalable, have proven to weather multiple economic cycles. I'm
Yes.
very leery of any business born in the best of times when the Fed's printing
Yeah.
money and everything
Yeah.
is good. I want to know that a brand's gone through a housing crisis, right? I want to know
Hmm.
that they have those battle scars and came out the other side,
Yeah.
relatively unscathed or at least still operating. We look for businesses that don't require a lot of employees. We just said what we said about our workforce. Our
Yeah.
current generation is really lazy. They don't have the hustle in them. They don't want to work.
Yeah.
They'd rather make 30 grand making YouTube videos than making 60 grand by getting a job in a cubicle. They don't want cubicle life. They really don't want their parents' life. They don't want to
Right.
travel. They really don't want to do much. So, with all that being said, you have to look for businesses that do not require a lot of employees or have that AI component. We've already eliminated them, which a lot of businesses are
Right.
working on right now. With AI,
Absolutely.
you go back and you look at your first job and at my first job, that job's
Yeah.
dead to our current generation. They're not going to have the first jobs that we had. McDonald's was a first job for a lot of kids in this country. That
Yeah.
opportunity has been removed due to
Yeah.
AI and a ridiculous minimum wage to do something
Yeah.
as remedial as would you like to biggie size your fries? That is not
Right.
worth 20 an hour. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
No,
fact,
that's a great point. I think I'm optimistic because you look at Elon talking about Tesla becoming a robotics company
Mhm.
and putting Optimus out there and doing that. You mentioned home health care. I'm dealing with the situation with my stepfather right now where he's in need of some additional care with his
Mhm.
condition, and it's like, how do you solve this when you don't have enough people, enough resources to take care of that? So I think it can solve a lot of these, but the flip side of that, Cliff, is when you say, hey, we're going to mandate a minimum wage that is above the amount of productivity produced by that position, you effectively eliminate that position and you make things like AI and robotics a viable alternative.
It's
So
happening.
yeah, that's a really interesting point. I think what I like to do is say, okay, wait a minute, like let's not look at this like a doomsday scenario. Say, hey, how can we take advantage of
Hmm.
AI take it and use it as a force multiplier when it comes to these.
I like that.
So let's shift a little bit. I'd like to hear your perspective because the stock market's been ripping, 20, 30% returns the past couple of years. Trump's back in office. There's a lot of optimism. I think it's one of the highest small business optimism
Yes.
scores that we've seen in recent history. But we see a lot of things changing with AI, with demographics. Baby boomers are turning 80, 10,000 a day. What are some of the trends that you're
Right.
seeing that over the next 5 to 10 years are going to be great opportunities for people that are interested in starting their own business, looking at franchises?
It's a great question. So we're writing a book called Beyond the Brand. It'll be out probably
Oh,
middle of 25, just for the audience.
we'll have you back
Why
on.
did I mention it? It actually
Yeah,
addresses what we're seeing in an era of AI and now quantum computing and an
yeah,
aging population and all of the societal issues that we've kind of discussed. Like people don't want to talk about these things.
yeah,
I think it's healthy to talk about these things
yeah.
because with awareness comes change. It's like that statement: "What gets measured gets done." Right? It's
Yep.
like, oh yeah,
What's measured
we
matters.
don't
Yep.
measure. Yeah, yeah, we don't measure cap rate. Wait a minute, you're in real estate. You don't measure cap rate. No, and that's why your cap rate is 1.5%. Because you're not measuring it. What gets measured gets attention. So what we're talking about is getting a lot of attention, and AI is going to be an absolute game changer. And I don't think enough white collar people realize that their job is currently in jeopardy if with white collar work. I mean, I
Yeah.
really do, and I think
Oh,
that
100%.
yeah, I think Goldman and I think a lot of these McKinsey, they've all nailed it. Like 350 million jobs on the planet will be lost due to AI. And then there's Elon who is saying it's okay though, because you're going to live in a world where things cheap. It's like, hey, how much is that car? Oh, the car is, 10 grand. So with
Or
a
even better yet, you don't even have to buy a car because you just hit your app and you have it come
boom,
pick you up and drive you wherever, and it's cheaper than owning a car.
you're exactly right. So
Yeah.
you're going to see huge. Will you and I see it? I don't know, but seeing the
Yeah.
beginning of this. So what is trending? We focus as a consulting company with our clients on 5 areas. The first area we
Yeah.
focus on is exactly what you just said: the aging, graying, the silver tsunami of America. We
Yeah.
have the largest demographic that has ever been born in this country. Let's call it 1946 and 1964. We birthed, I don't know, 69, let's just say 70 million
Yep.
babies right after the
Yep.
war.
Yeah.
Well, those babies are 70 and 80 years of age, and they need a lot of care. And everyone goes, yeah, I don't want to do that. Why? I don't want to care for the elderly. There are ways to make money and have a beautiful legacy as an entrepreneur by caring for, come on, there are elders, there are parents, there are grandparents.
Absolutely.
It's part of the
Absolutely.
fabric of our society is
Yeah.
aging. And the way society works is youth takes care of the elderly and the cycle continues because youth will become old. And the cycle, that's why you have to repopulate a planet. Otherwise, there's no one to care for your elderly. It can't be seniors caring
Yeah.
for seniors. Like you can't have a guy with a broken hip caring for a guy with a broken hip. Like it just doesn't seem
Yeah.
to work that way. So
Yeah.
yes, you could care for the elderly. You could do non-emergency medical transportation. You could do all things mobility. I know people making millions just fixing, renting, repairing all things scooter mobility related, installing
Not a
chairlifts.
mongoose scooter.
Not no electric scooter like the ones you'd see at like a theme park where you buzz around the grocery store and the theme parks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the scooters, those things break. They need new motherboards. They need new components. There's a lot of money to be made there. And what we did learn about our aging population is they want to age in place
Yep.
as long as they can
Absolutely.
age in place. Well, when you live in Maryland or the Atlantic region or
Yeah.
Northeast, and everything is a colonial 2-story home, you have to install a $5,000-$6,000 chairlift to get them to that second floor. Grab bars and anti-slip and ramps, and there's a lot of money to be made there. So I don't want the audience to always associate the aging of America with I don't want to care for elderly. One
Yeah.
component of many in that
Yeah.
space. The second category, which is feeds on we're not repopulating, is
Right.
the actual humanization of pets and animals. That's category number
Oh,
two. We have literally humanized pets and animals. There are couples now, we'll call them Gen Xers and millennials, and that are just having pets, not actual children. They can't afford them. They feel like I
yeah.
can't take care of myself. How am I going to take care of this child? There's
Yeah.
you're talking about $100+ billion market cap with everything involved in the humanization of pets and animals, from
Wow.
boarding to grooming to daycare to train them to retail to selling products. There's a ton of money to be made in the pet space. The third category that we have coined the feminization of men in America. And let me explain why we coined it that. We've weakened men to the point that their sperm count has dropped 50% in the last decade in Western civilizations.
Yeah.
Their testosterone levels
That's a
have
fact,
plummeted.
and it's crazy.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. So a lot of people are like, oh, where's he going with this? I'm not getting political. And I'm not saying anything that can't be substantiated with empirical information. There's a war on men, like literally. We can't think about this, Chris. For the first time in the history of this country, you had both sides of the aisle in a presidential election speak of IVF. Why? Because we can't have kids.
Yeah.
Our kids can't have
Yeah.
kids. So there's something inherently wrong there. There are franchises that are backfilling testosterone therapy, ED therapy, right there, taking care of men and women. Women are not balanced. Women need hormone
Yeah.
therapy. Women feel like their cortisol levels are depleted, or their
Mhm.
progesterone levels, or their estrogen levels are out of whack. Everything's out of whack. Men and women in this country, our food supply is absolutely poisoned. And there are franchise concepts that are now helping people get centered, get balanced, and regulate their hormones. And if anyone wants to say I'm wrong, think about this for a minute. There isn't one person listening right now whose general practitioner under modern medicine told them to get their testosterone hormone levels checked. Never. And everyone's going, that's true. Oh,
Yep.
but they'll write you a prescription for an antidepressant. They'll write you'll get Cialis and Viagra. You'll get all sorts of shit that you could take from the pharma industry, but they will never say to you, you should really get your T levels checked out. I do it every year. I'm sure that I'm
Yep.
off. I don't,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want anything to do with modern day medicine, and I want nothing to do with pharma. Nothing's entering my body when it comes to prescription drugs because it's unnecessary.
Bingo.
So again, huge opportunity in franchising to fill that void. Next category is because we're aging. What about beauty and vanity and wellness and biohacking? You and I live in a
Yes.
time that you and I can log into Atia, Asprey, Huberman Lab and learn about things. No one
Yep.
ever talked about your circadian rhythm. No one ever talked about cold plunging. No one ever spoke
I got
about
one out
fasting.
back.
Come on, Chris, right?
Let's
This
go.
this is red light therapy, sensory deprivation. All of this
Mhm.
stuff is so important. There are so many franchises involved in beauty, vanity, wellness, all these things that I'm talking about, anti-aging. It's important. And then the final category, this is my belief. I believe that public schools have failed us and they have failed our children by eliminating program after program that help children be the best version that they could possibly be
Yeah.
in this country. They really have. They killed music. They kill art. They kill sports. They kill things
Yeah.
that make us men and make us women and make us productive members of society. They killed it.
Yeah.
So franchises are backfilling all that stuff. And
Yeah.
when they
How
do
about that?
backfill it, it's powerful. You know what's interesting? We had a woman that had an art brand, and she was in Michigan, and she ended up getting her art concept in like 30 public schools. And she's like, wait a minute, killed art, but yet you're allowing me in. And the school's attitude is, yeah, no tenure, no pension, no benefits. We're giving you nothing. You're here as long as we allow you to be. So sure, if you want to do art after school in an aftercare program, go ahead.
That's
So
cool.
it is,
Yeah.
yes, it is
Yeah.
interesting that they'll bring it in. Is it truly? Not sure. I'm not sure what the logic is there, but again, these categories are huge. We refer to it as child enrichment, anything
Yeah.
to help a child. And a lot of people today, when they 50, they're looking back saying, how did I leave my mark on society? What's
Yeah.
my legacy look like? What have I done? So
Yeah.
those are our categories we tend to focus on with clients. They are all AI resistant, and they are
Yeah.
all what we would call Temu and Amazon resistant. You
I
can't
love
do
it.
these things through the internet. You can't replace
Yeah.
them with AI.
I love it. And I love how we kind of came full circle, Cliff, because we started talking about the next generation and how to teach them, some of those same lessons. And you ended it with that, talking about, what the school system is lacking to teach our children a lot of the skills for success that those that are out there listening that are our age or older knew. Music, sports, all of these things. I also love, we've been building, man, we're running out of time. So what I want to do is, one, I want to have you back when your book comes out. So we're going to
Right.
be reaching out for that. But two, how can people learn more about your company, what's the best way to get in touch with you and learn more,
Absolutely.
Cliff?
First of all, the audience, our services are 100% free. They're always free. We're paid by the seller, much like a realtor. So we are compensated. We're just not paid by the buyer. So we do for the investor for free. They can visit our website at francity.com, FRANOCITY.com. They can also reach out to me at cliffn@francity.com and schedule a free consult. Get on the phone, schedule a free consult. What are your investment objectives? Everything we do, Chris, revolves and is centered around the client. It's your phase of life. It's your investment objectives. It's your income needs. It's your investment level. It's your risk tolerance. It's your liquidity. So it's not, oh yeah, you're going into pets. No, it has everything to do with the client and the client's investment objectives. This process takes 3 months. We are incredibly disciplined, and they are not buying anything. All we're doing is investigating, is franchising an investment vehicle for you? And you started the call out with a lot of Wall Streeters, a lot of accredited investors, a lot of diversified investors. Franchising is an asset class like art, like crypto, like stocks, mutual funds, like real estate. Franchising is another asset class, and sectors rotate. Franchising has been a very good sector to rotate some money into.
I love it. Top 2 assets that the ultra rich have: real estate, but number 1 is business. If you want to learn more about how you can incorporate business into your legacy wealth plan, check out Cliff at Francity. Cliff, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Chris here again. I hope you found this episode valuable. Now, I have one more thing to gift you. We have a page for my coaching clients where you can get a free copy of my book, as well as much more from previous guests on the show. Just check out nextlevelincome.com/coaching to get a free copy of my book, audiobook, and much more. I'll send you a copy of my book and cover all the shipping costs as a thank you for listening to the podcast. Also, please like, share, and take just 90 seconds to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts.